One. Hi, guys. Welcome to Heart Chats. This is not like an interview so much. This is just me and my buddies together, and we're going to chit chat about stuff. And for some reason, we think we should record this and share it with the world. If that tells you anything about it. Today, I thought we would talk about the healing center ideas that the three of us share. We've all had experience in healing center ideas and projects, and
healing work too.
Yes, and I don't know if you guys know Brandon. We just did a interview with him this last night. You're not Brandon.
I'm just waving hi to him.
We did an interview with him last week, and it was a great interview. It just sort of hit the tip of all the things that we were talking about. And Rich here has been with me at Heart Talks since the very first season, and he's kind of my, if I got something to bitch about, I call Rich. So
it's reciprocal.
Well, and I'll start off by saying I've been involved in about 5 healing center projects. And the first one started probably back in the early 90s, and we were
just froze.
Oh man. Okay.
Did hers freeze?
Yep.
That's what happened last time.
I know. Okay.
It's all this high vibration you two hold.
Am I back?
You're
Yes.
back.
Okay. So the early healing center projects, I thought we were way before our time. But it was, as I look back now, it was just us trying to express our abilities and this wonderful idea of getting healers together under one roof so everyone can come and get healed. And the project itself was great. The healers were wonderful. Unfortunately, there was not very much clientele in my particular area. So
Sheila, when was that for you? What year were you first involved in that?
That would have been about 1992.
Okay.
Back in the 1900s.
Had you had any insight or vision or idea or concept before that of a healing center yourself?
Well, I spent about a year and a half drawing up blueprints and ideas for this healing center that I had in my mind at the time.
So when did you do that? That's what I'm, your vision of it. When did you do it?
It was probably in the early 2000s.
Brandon, same thing for you. You showed me your little drawing, and I'm curious when you first had the idea of
I drew that I was actually in Texas, and that was 2001 or 2? I think it was 2002 actually. I had conceived of that concept when I was about 19, but I drew it out when I was.
How many years in between drawing it out?
I drew that out when I was like 19. I didn't draw that out. I conceived of that 1997, 98.
Okay.
I started having dreams of it shortly before that, and then I started drawing them, and I continue to have dreams to this day.
Interesting. And I'm not trying to take this over from you, Sheila, but I wanted to try and establish how long these concepts have been around for each of us. And for me, with the conversation I've had with Sheila before, is the concept that I've envisioned happened in the mid-'80s. And I got insight from my guidance at the time that it wouldn't happen until after the shift in consciousness.
Yeah.
That there wouldn't be the materials available, there wouldn't be the consciousness ready for it. As Sheila was saying earlier, we are typically ahead of our time with this kind of a concept in putting together, because the masses aren't really ready for this yet. They're still in slumber, so many of them, although that's changing rapidly now. But I never really had a complete vision of what the center would be. For me, it was the idea of creating these healing chambers. That was my inspiration. And I think I've shown both of you over the years the pyramid that would be a healing chamber. And I had that vision back in the mid-'80s, and I had always gotten from insight guidance that would probably be made out of crystalline panels, and that they could be programmable to different energies and vibrations. And they would be fused together rather than having some kind of supporting structure to them, like beams and studs and things like that. But the technology for that wouldn't come until the ETs brought it to us in an open way that we could use their advanced technology. The center itself didn't really evolve until I really started talking with Sheila about her vision, and she asked me to, put it down on paper, which for us was a website. And then I started really kind of saying, well, if there's a healing chamber, where does it go? It goes on a healing center. Well, if there's a healing center, what's going to be a part of that? But when I came up to Oregon, when I first met you, Brandon, I had been down in Mount Shasta for about 2 months. And I met someone down there who had already done architectural landscape drawings of a center that she had been working on and was trying to get funding for it. So the thing I found, and Sheila, you can take it on from here, is that there's many of us that were seeded from spirit, from a higher consciousness with this concept. And my sense is that we were all supposed to get it and see who was actually going to go forward with it. Take over, guys.
Well,
And Rich, yeah.
Brandon, what were your visions like?
A lot of them were dreams. Some were visions. One dream was of this community center, of this healing center, of this Ascension Center, was a room where you kind of, I don't know what I was looking at, if it was a crystalline holographic projector, but you were allowed to see. It helped you with your past lives. It helped you remember them. It also showed you them in a holographic way. It was very interesting, and when I awoke from that dream, I was wanting that technology now. And after those dreams I've had, or after that dream, I've had several dreams where I've seen the actual kind of compound. And to me, I saw it in Colorado. It told me Colorado was where it showed me. And
you know where?
I know it was on the east side of the Rockies, but it was in the Rockies. And it was kind of hill-like, but there were trees everywhere. There were, like I told you before, there was a library. One of my dreams, there was a library and a librarian and children waiting to see the librarian and talk with the librarian. And there were just structures. I didn't see any amazing looking structures. The ones that I saw were just like basic houses. And
so I'm going to throw out a couple of cities that feel appropriate to what you're talking about. Tell me which one feels more correct. Brandon, this would be for you. Woodland Park or Estes Park?
No idea.
Okay.
I like the first one, Woodland, felt more to my liking.
It has an area that describes and has a setting that would be conducive to a center. It's actually just outside of Colorado Springs, next to Cheyenne Mountain.
Oh,
Right
okay.
up in the mountains, about 14 miles.
I know there's a hot spring next to it.
There's a
I
hot
know.
spring down below.
Okay, when I was one of the visions, not visions, one of the dreams, I was next to a road that was in the mountains and at a hot springs. And that was one way for me to know kind of the location of where I was supposed to go.
How
I'll
about
know.
Steamboat Springs?
What was that?
Steamboat Springs? Or
I'll look that up, yeah. I've been
Big
searching
Bend.
for what I saw in my dream. I haven't found it yet.
There's a hot springs in Colorado. There's an open pool that's a huge pool that, like 100 people could be in it easily in Glenwood Springs, which is towards the west side of Colorado.
Oh, okay.
And Steamboat Springs is one of the ski areas to the north end of the state on the the Rockies divide right in half the state from Denver over. And Steamboat is up towards the north end, like Fort Collins and that. They're kind of over in that area.
Okay.
But I found there's most of the towns that were named with springs had the vibration that would support a healing center. Because I lived in Colorado for 22 years, and it's where I had the vision originally. So I was actually driving around and looking around to see where it might be. And the ones that came up were Manitou Springs, which is right next to Colorado Springs, and on the road up to Woodland Park. Pagosa Springs, which is on the southern border of the state, about the center. Glenwood Springs, Steamboat Springs. All of those seem to have the vibration that would be conducive to a center.
I almost moved to Pagosa Springs. I was going to move there right after massage school. I had a house ready, and at the last moment, I decided to move into Bob's house with you.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
And then I was going to start my massage career over there in Pagosa Springs, but I stayed around, and obviously I'm still here. So I've not even seen Pagosa Springs, but that was my destination right after massage school. And it was my destination for about a year when I was in massage school.
There's a hot springs in Pagosa Springs as well.
Okay. My sister had a house and a cabin there. She no longer has it, and that's where I was going to stay. So,
cool.
Yeah.
So you were talking about your center and some of the visions that you're having. I just wanted to try and pinpoint a location while you were talking.
Okay. There was even one dream that may have just been far out, might not have been a vision type of dream, and I also told you this, Rich, the way we went around, or I should say the way that we went from place to place at this large acreage in this dream that I had, and there were, it had hills there, and how do I explain it? It was like waterways going through. I don't like the word compound for some reason, but it was waterways going through the acreage, and people were using boats to get to go from place to place, and it was big, and there was a very, very large community.
Kind of like Venice, the canals.
Yeah, it was almost like Venice, but these were man-made. I mean, I know Venice's are man-made, but this was, it was built into the land by us. And I don't know where we got the water, or perhaps it came off from a stream, which is illegal now. So I don't know if we could even do that, or perhaps there was a.
Yeah, that's just now though.
Yeah. So that was another vision, and that place was gorgeous. I mean, the community center was very big, and there was a lot of people there. I would say there was about 10 to me, a lot of people is about 100 people. It seemed like to be about 100 people there.
You know, you said something that actually hits home more correctly for describing these, not as a healing center, but as an ascension center.
Yeah, they're Ascension Centers.
And for me, it is also, a large part of it was a galactic meeting center where we could meet with the galactics, ETs, and part of the idea that I had as what would be happening at this place, again, on Anchorage, not in the city, not a building, not a, you know, a little community healing center that you go to in the neighborhood. This was more of a retreat kind of a place. But it would be a place where we could connect with the ETs and the masters and the ascended masters and whoever else, and really talk about working on building a galactic society.
Yes.
That would be part of the educational process or the healing process of getting people to that consciousness.
And in my vision and project, also there was a room where I totally envisioned the masters sitting at this big table. Just as I sat at their big table, they would be present at my big table at the center. And I'm so just regular about that it doesn't seem like an odd or you know, off-world thing to do. It feels like we're just laying the foundation with our thoughts and ideas and dreams right now, because I just feel like there's no doubt in my mind that that's what I'm here doing, is gathering people and you know, showing my galactic self slowly. And it is my intention to be like an ambassador at this center, where I could communicate between our galactic team and the humans, and to slowly introduce people as they raise their vibration. Of course, now we're talking about when vibration will already have been risen.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
So having people join us with the masters will be pretty damn exciting, but not so elusive as it is now.
Yeah, and it's, when you say the rising of vibration, which is our personal vibration, along with that comes a raising of the consciousness. So we're now longer in this me and you survival polarity scenario. We are already connected in knowing that we are actually connected energetically, vibrationally, spiritually throughout the whole universe. You know, it's that whole concept of full consciousness, where you're fully aware of, you know, when someone's lying to you or when they're telling the truth, and the empathic kind of feelings of knowing and understanding that someone's feeling bad, even if they're not even present. To be psychic, to be energetically able to heal, all of these things are going to be a part of that raising of the vibration, which turns into full consciousness kind of society.
And with the ambassador concept, my friend who had that near-death experience that I've talked about before, she was shown that in the future, we're going to have these ascension centers kind of littered throughout North America. And she was shown North America. It's also going to be littered throughout the world.
Right.
And she was shown very certain areas where there is going to be a lot of, or higher vibrational levels in these areas where these ascension centers are going to be. And also she mentioned that we're going to have ambassadors of the world for the Galactic Council, for the, what did she call it? The Galactic Federation. And and she's an ambassador, and she even was told, of all people, Oprah is an ambassador, and she has no idea she is, but she's an ambassador of Earth to show the Galactic Federation our spirituality, how we can grow, and that we can be placed in the Galactic Federation and do it's not do well there, but represent Earth and all of Earth's children. And these Ascension Centers, these healing centers, are a main part of that, are a really big part of that. So it's very important that these start to be built so we can show the children of Earth compassion, show them how to, live a spiritual life, and not necessarily good or bad, but working together as one, as a people. And
the other part of it is to heal those things that have been the blocks is the first word that comes up, but all those parts of our being that are still broken, traumatized from past experiences, so that we can become the whole being again, which makes it a lot easier for us to be compassionate and work with one another. But until all of our broken parts are resolved, that's pretty difficult for most of us to get to that point that you're describing.
Yeah. And that's exactly right. That's one way to ascension is to, are you there, Rich?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. One way to ascension is you have to get over those blocks that you're talking about. Your body really can't ascend if it's not necessarily a pure being, and emotions and all these even past life memories that you haven't overcome can block you from ascension. And that's what that's what these Ascension Centers are for, is to help you clear those blocks.
The healing chambers that I've envisioned, again, the first one was a pyramid, and I may have described it to you, Brandon, when we were first at the house, and I know Sheila and I have talked about it, but the remembrance I have, and that's what it feels like. It's a remembrance that I've actually experienced it, that they've actually existed, either in the past or in the future, and either way that I've been there. But these pyramids were huge enough that there was probably 50 to 75 feet at the base of the pyramid inside. And it would be that equilateral or that sacred geometry size. So the peak would be maybe 50 feet up in the air, or maybe even higher. And there was a platform that would be in the center of the pyramid inside. And what I had a remembrance of is there would be a line of people that would be standing to come into that chamber. And there would be a human being standing next to the platform, and they would help them up onto the platform and prepare them for their experience. And then up in that peak of the pyramid, there would be this energetic being in non-physical form. And they would literally raise the physical body up vibrationally as well as physically into the higher dimensions, and restructure all of the DNA or those things that we call the blocks, or the energetic things that are out of alignment, and put them back into alignment, and then bring them back down into the 3D physical, which would accomplish that resolve of all the past traumas that the person had been experiencing. And the other part of it was interesting, is that whoever was the human being could have been the non-physical being. So it wasn't as if there was just one being that was present. Anybody could move into that position as they could or were ready to.
What my friend had that near-death experience, what she was told is that there are anchors to each soul group, And those anchors are actually helping pull each member of those soul groups up in ascension. And one dream I had before I even met my near-death experience friend was that what you were just explaining. I was pulled up by a woman. I was in 3D, and I was pulled up by a woman, and I went through 3 stages. The first stage was I was in physicality. The second stage was I was in the astral plane, where I was in between worlds, it felt like, and it was black and white, which was very interesting to me. And then the third stage was literally being pulled up. I saw hands going right through one level, I guess it would be the ceiling of the astral plane. It was, a hand was coming down, and I felt this, my vibration, it felt like goosebumps. It felt like angels surrounding you, giving you love, and you have all these goosebumps, and your body starts vibrating very, very fast. And I raised my hand, and I grabbed this hand that was coming through the ceiling of the astral plane, and it pulled me up. And when it pulled me up, I saw the woman who pulled me up. I was on what you would really consider heaven on earth. I was in a different area, but I was on an island, and there was all of these islands, and I saw buildings that looked like the Taj Mahal everywhere, and it had the moon, the half moon on top of those buildings. And when they showed me a mirror of myself, I looked at myself, and I was back at, I don't know, I was young. I was at my, prime, I guess I would say. And I looked, even though I had
so far past that now.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying, is that it must have been a quick DNA regeneration, because my body, even though I was in a higher vibration, and probably maybe 5th D in this dream, I looked in the mirror, and I saw how bright. They showed me a mirror to show how bright of a person I was. I saw the light illuminating from my skin, and I was almost like etheric in nature, but I looked physical. I don't know how to explain that. And
good description.
And very happy. I had really bright white teeth is one thing I remember. And she showed me Earth, and she showed me how beautiful the ocean was, how beautiful the sky was, how beautiful I was on kind of this, it looked like a big cliff, hundreds of feet up, jutting out of this ocean. And I had all these buildings around me, but if you look over the cliff, you see this is almost like the water was singing to you and rising up. The waves were hitting the cliff, and it's just a different way of how it splashed. It like splashed with, it looked like glitter.
Luminescence.
Yeah. So I think that was perhaps an experience to show me what it might be like to ascend.
You know, one of the other parts of the healing center vision that I've had is that there would be water there. Now, you talk about the waterways. Sheila's talked about waterways, but for me, it was like a pond or a pool, more like a lake or a pond than like a swimming pool. And one of the aspects was that the water would be regenerated to its original intention, which was a very high vibrational substance. And just by walking into the water, you could get healed, because the water would act as a healing agent. And that it would be some kind of crystalline kind of structure that would entrain whoever or walked into the water or swam in the water or played in the water. It would just be at its original creation as a part of the center. And eventually the globe would have the water all regenerated back to its original creation. So I think that's going to be a major factor in all of these, is to have that water aspect as a part of it. Sheila, you're being pretty quiet.
I could share. Well, everything you guys are saying, it's taking me back to experiences I have that I've had. One of them, Brandon, is on another world. I have created a mural, a huge mural, and when people come there to the mural, they are shown all the aspects of themselves that need healing. And I've seen, and I've had other people see it and recognize that it was my creation. And when these people would come and stand in front of this mural, this magic would happen, and it's just the most incredible thing for me to watch. I have to close my eyes because I can see it whenever my eyes are closed, and it's how it presents one's need for healing that is so magical. And I've heard that it's extremely popular, and it's interesting because the few people who have seen it and came back and told me about it, I expect something like that. I expect that level of I don't even know what you call it. It's not technology, but I mean that's the word we would use here in those centers that I'm talking about. And I had another experience where I was somewhere in some time, I don't know where or when, but I was in a bay of water, and there were like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cigar-shaped ships that were on the water, not our kind of cruise ships. I mean cigar-shaped flying ships. Mm-hmm. And each one of them had different people went to the different ships because and one of them, in order to get your it was like an inoculation or something that helped you get to this next level. And I'll say it's a healing, but we don't even use those words over there. And each ship,
a realignment.
Yes, it was very interesting because each ship, one of them, they did it by the tip of your finger. Another one, they did it right here at the temple. So, and it was interesting that the people knew which ship to go to. And I remember walking around there, and I remember somebody over here saying, I'll never change the way I'm doing things. And it was like so interesting to still see doubt.
Polarity.
Yeah. And after I checked all those out, then I stood in a place and there was a spiral of energy that went around me, starting at my feet. And I ascended up into the ship above me. So, there again, I'm experiencing and having great memories of and again, I say the word healing, but it doesn't seem to apply, and because that seems like what we're doing down here, and I don't know, but
transformation
is a much better word. And so here is why I still hold on to this healing center, but I like how you call it the Ascension Centers. I think I'm going to start saying that.
I think I'm going to change the website.
Yeah, I think that sounds a lot better because Healing Center just sounds like all the old things that, that have not worked out. I learned from it. I gained valuable information, insight, and experience through those. But
I want to just interrupt you for a minute. One, I see we're getting short on time by the meeting. Is that correct?
Yeah, we should.
Do we have to do anything to keep going?
We can stop recording and then go into part 2.
Okay. I just wanted to say on the healing centers, one of the things that comes to mind about using that term is I think what a lot of people end up thinking is that's the business aspect of doing healing work. People come to a practitioner and they are a client. So there's this pay you for your services and you do whatever you do, and it's another, more spiritual doctor kind of thing. Where the Ascension Centers, as we're talking about it, is really about us just really being these ascended masters and really doing the magic that we all can do from that level. It's not about a business per se. It's not about having a specific clientele for you individually. It's about being able to do it for anybody and everybody, especially on the globe as we're working through to this process of transformation into the higher vibrations.
Well, I don't think it's a mistake that all 3 of us don't have 9-to-5 jobs.
Purposely.
Yeah.
And we seem to be addicted to the 10th and 11th hours.
Oh yeah. Oh gosh.
I like Sheila's
The good
description.
news with that is, I keep going back to my near-death experience friend because I've learned most of my stuff from her, and most of what I say is information coming from her experience and what she was told. And she was told that light workers in the future, during her lifetime, light workers are going to there's going to be a huge amount of money flow going to the light workers. It's going to be like a dam breaking and opening up. And it's a money flow that is being stockpiled right now. I don't know if I'm saying it correctly.
Actually, Brandon, it's getting ready to be distributed.
Yeah, and it's going to be distributed and released, and it's going to allow us to...
Now, we're at that point.
What was that again?
It's not even being stockpiled anymore. It's getting ready to be distributed.
Okay, because she told me this back in the late 90s. So,
yeah.
So hopefully, I would welcome that. So,
yeah, wouldn't we all? Us non-9-to-5ers.
Actually,
I want to say, first of all, I think this has been an amazing session so far, with each of us describing these insights and perceptions that we've had.
Well, it does feel good to sit and talk with like minds and share these, because you can tell all 3 of us are very serious about this. I mean, it is in our blood. It is what is going to happen eventually. And I think just like with Heart Talks, every time we sit around and talk about it, we're building the foundation.
Yeah, and Rich has waited longer, and with his visions, I've been wanting to do this and waiting to do this for 20 years. So it's not something that is a fly-by-night thing. It's not something that I just thought of once, and it's on my mind almost daily.
Yeah, for me, it's been close to 35 years now since I first got the insights.
Yeah.
And again, even at that time, there was other people that were already talking about, some kind of concept. It's interesting. I've asked Sheila several times to provide me with her drawings, or at least a resemblance of what the drawings were. And I looked at your drawing, and it's very interesting that almost all of the people's concepts of the centers themselves are almost this circular compound kind of scenario. What I've actually diagrammed on the website that I created for my vision is a lot more free-flowing. There's a lot more not so uniform, not so configured to, you know, a circle or something like that. But I've seen a lot that are. The one down in Mount Shasta with the person that I met had something very similar to yours, Brandon. And again, in full architectural drawing, landscaping detail. But it was that circular with a hub of smaller houses around the outside and more of the activity area in the inside where there would be, you know, the healings and type of things like that. But a lot of times it was almost like it was a community of healers where there'd be a multiple of individuals almost residing there and most likely in their own little space rather than in a single building, which for me makes a lot more sense because vibrationally, each one of us has to set the space for our own vibrational alignment. And when you overlap too many people, that becomes a lot more difficult to do. So with my vision of the center, as I've been now more fully developing it, it's having individual houses or domicides or healing spaces for a variety of people to have in a variety of different environments. I got thinking of the idea that, well, if an ET comes here, what kind of domicile or guest space would he like to be in? He, she, whoever, whatever. You know, they might like it underwater. Or, you know, they might like the treehouse kind of scenario. So at this point, I'm envisioning it being able to be adaptable to whoever it might be coming and their energetic vibrational alignment. So I'm really looking for creative kind of spaces to be a part of where people get to stay or use them as a healing space. Plus having a central building for like dining and then another like a conference center kind of thing. Of course, I also see a Stargate and transporters as a part of the center at this point. So we don't have to rely on vehicle transportation. You could have a healer or a practitioner or a facilitator come in from, let's say, the Palladians and have a person from South America meet you in Colorado, and both within minutes. And when their session's done, they could go back to where they needed to go. One of the things that I'm getting more and more is the right person will be there for the right person when they need to be. It isn't so much about the scheduling, they just show up because they know they need to be there.
I call those stargates that you're talking about. I'm writing a book right now, and I call those jump rooms. And you go into a room. This is something I've seen as well. You go into a room, and it's almost like going through a door, and you go from where you are in your location of the world to where another person is, maybe 5,000 miles away, within seconds. You just walk through that door and you're there.
You know those jump rooms exist.
Or world to world. What was that?
You know those jump rooms actually exist right now in buildings in New York City
and
various other cities around that our shadow government has been using.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But they do exist. They actually are part of the experience already. But it's the same concept. It's, you know, transporting from one location to another instantaneously.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, it's some of the original Star Trek stuff that we saw.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Real.
Yeah.
Well, I had gotten discouraged before being with these networks of healers and all the excitement and everything to get these centers going. I look back at the early 90s and I hadn't had near, you know, I I didn't even have all the experience that I've had yet. So I can see why, that didn't work, yet it still was feeding the dream that we all had. And I think that counts.
Well, you said it earlier. All these visions were ahead of time. And I think, like you just said, that Spirit saw that any of us who were serious about it, one, they had to figure out if we were serious about it. And two is to get prepared ourselves for doing it, and then have the population come closer to being prepared to be able to take advantage of them. And I think, as Brandon was just saying, and I was reconfirming, is we're now hitting that time. The planetary consciousness is waking up very quickly now.
Yeah.
There is a lot of people that would have scuffed at all of this kind of information a year or two ago that are now going, wow, tell me more. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yes, I see the deception that is all around us. And I'm seeing that there has to be a change and there has to be a transformation. And like you indicated, and so many of the messengers indicated, we're all supposed to be getting some funding. And quite literally, that is on the doorstep of happening. I mean, like days or hours away.
Do you have a vision of how that is supposed to happen?
It's not a vision anymore. It's a logistical thing that is really about to happen. It's one of the things that's in the 3D world that's happening right now. If you look around the world, you're seeing a lot of gold has been moved around the world, so that different countries can now have gold-backed asset currency. And the fiat dollar is now collapsing because it's not gold-backed anymore. So there's no real value to it. Well, part of the fact that everybody's changing their currency to have a greater value is so that everybody can be on more equal par in their economics throughout the world. So third world countries now become equal to first world countries in being able to trade and do their economics. And a part of what that is doing is there's what is being talked about as the currency RV, or the revaluation of them. And in the process of that, some of those currencies are to become very valuable. And there's a number of people that have been procuring those currencies and are going to receive unimaginable amounts of funding from that revaluation. But along with that, the whole concept of NESARA, that I know each of you have heard of that or have some familiar with it. It was the result of the farmers going bankrupt and having their farms foreclosed on by the banks back in the early 90s. Well, once they got into those court battles, the Supreme Court recognized how deceptive and manipulative the banks were, and have been working on a plan, which is NESARA, about funding the people back all of the money that has been stolen from them for centuries now. Along with that is the talked about prosperity packages, which was originally an investment scenario where people would buy into it like stock, and it was going to be like an annuity or a mutual fund that over a period of time it would grow and then they would get a payout. Well, those are now starting to be distributed, those prosperity packages. Along with that is the St. Germain Fund, which is now also beginning to get ready to be distributed. All of this is tied around the revaluation, because it's once those currencies get to a higher level, it triggers all the other things that now make it ready for a lot of what we're talking about to start happening. Humanitarian projects around the world, cleanup of the air, cleanup of the water. We're really at that time right now, and it's just behind the scenes of what is being allowed to be notified to the public. But the rest of the world already knows it's going on. The G20 meeting this last weekend or so of the top the world leaders got together to actually sign their agreement that these payments would start going out to the global population. Interestingly enough, there was a comment that Obama said it was not going to happen here, that he was actually, or it was going to be stopped here, and that we wouldn't be allowed to be a participant. And the rest of the world is going, you are, because this is a time that has been, you can say it's been prophesized for a long time, as you were talking about. But we're really at that doorstep. We're not waiting for that some time in the future anymore. It's here, it's now, and it's probably going to happen very soon, before the end of this year.
And that's been, will be quite grateful.
Yeah, and you know, it's going to give all of us the opportunity to have to start working on building these concepts that we're talking about, and other people to start, you know, using their imagination to be creative.
Yeah, when we stand way back and look at how many things we are not doing, not creating because of the dollar, it's absolutely absurd and unbelievable. And for us to be able to change that vibration, change the way that it's been, oh my God, the freedom for all of us to be able to do what we love to do, oh my God, that's going to change everything.
Yeah, and it has to happen as a part of our spiritual evolution, a part of this whole ascension process. That as we raise up in consciousness, as we raise up in the connection of how connected we are to each other, as we raise up getting away from the polarity and the enslavement that we've been in for 13 millennia now, we really begin to need to have the flexibility and the opportunity to be the creation beings that we are. I used to use a part of my healing verbiage when I was working with someone was that you may become the whole healed, magnificently unlimited creation being that you were always meant to be. And I think that is really the basis of our spiritual ascension that many of us have been working around and dancing around as we've been doing our own healing work. I mean, working on ourselves and those issues that we have and our emotions and all those other things, but also helping other people in healing their issues and their blocks and their fractured souls all around. So Sheila, tell us more about your center, what it was going to be like.
Well, after working on that blueprint for a year and a half, I was coming to my unfold period that I was talking to you about, and I threw those away because I was throwing all my material possessions away at the time. I have every detail in my head, but there was that center room where, with the long table, where the masters and us would gather, and it was also kind of like like an example setting where people could come and be introduced to these new ways, these new technologies, and get to know, to meet the masters. There would be a garden area where people could be introduced to the energy of food, to be able to actually sit there and look at the food and see the energy, and of course there's the water, and then there were rooms where there was like this bed where there was lights above it, and there was lights in the bed, and the person would sit in there, and these lights would and it was the lights that would make the balance or the healing, and of course I made these back, still when I was just I was still growing up. I was still awakening, and because architecture is just one of my hobbies. Of course, I so enjoyed drawing up these blueprints, but they, I look back now, those are just 3D blueprints. They weren't, but that doesn't matter because that's not the point. The point is that the whole time I was drawing and imagining, all my memories were coming back. I was still building a foundation, even if it's outdated now. It wasn't about the building as much as it was about the interaction and communication with the masters.
In one of the, I usually go back to my dreams. In one of my dreams, I was in one of the Ascension Centers, and I believe it was the one that I was living at, and there was a huge, huge dome. It was giant. And inside that dome, it was more like a biosphere. And there was a big lake in it. I shouldn't say big lake, a big pond. And there was, where I was standing, there was like a deck going over a portion of that pond. And I was with my daughter, who at the time of my dream was 17 years old. My daughter is now 15. And she was helping all of us with foreigners that were coming into that Ascension Center because we didn't necessarily know their language, but she could telepathically talk to them. I wouldn't say necessarily they would talk back telepathically, but she could understand what they were saying by knowing what was in their minds. And when they would talk and we wouldn't really understand their language, she would translate that to us. Not the language, but what they were really saying from their minds. And I don't know what happened in the dream, but there was a lot of foreigners from all over coming to the place. And perhaps there was some type of event that happened, or perhaps that Ascension Center was their destination, their soul destination. Mm-hmm. And in this dome, I remember seeing the sun shine through it, but above it was an iridescent type of material that the sun could easily penetrate through. It was clear. It was, and so there was plants, almost a forest in there surrounding this water. And I think that's going to be in the Ascension Centers.
I absolutely agree, because it was in my plans.
And I've always envisioned a forest around the lake as well.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Rolling hills for sure.
Yeah.
Multi-terrain.
Yes.
Is what I get.
Yeah.
Again, as I've been working on envisioning really what the center looks like for me, I really get that it's about being adaptable to all the different types of life forms that might be there. So it's not just us as human beings in this physical type of body, but non-physical beings, ETs, aqua beings, and that we should have some kind of place where they can come and be and do whatever they need to do. So it's a very interesting twist to it that I hadn't really envisioned long before. I just had figured that it was the main part of it was there would be this flip in consciousness. And for me, that was almost like a light switch, that it would not be a gradual event. It would happen in a very short period of time. For me, within a day is how I've always envisioned it. That in the morning you could have gotten up, and in the afternoon you suddenly become fully awake and fully conscious, and your life goes on from that point on in this full awareness. And there's been a number of people that talk about the event in the same way as what I just described, that it has to happen before we can really move forward with all the other things that we've been talking about. And I have to agree, I think it's not going to happen in a gradual scenario. But the fact that we're all talking about these centers and the characteristics of them, and we're really starting to put some focus and energy onto them again, at this point, to me, indicates we are really on the cusp of that light switch happening. It may not happen right away. It might not be this year. It might be another year. It might be another 2 years, according to Brandon and his daughter. She was 17 and she's 15. So there might be a 2-year time frame. But at some point, it's going to be a huge shift in consciousness, not a gradual shift in consciousness. And I've been waiting for that for 35 years now. And I already know we're over a decade late in its original time frame.
Yes, yes. It's been pushed back.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if it's still being pushed back a little bit longer. One of my dreams told me that the events, the earth changes that were supposed to happen are now half as catastrophic as they were supposed to be. And that's because of the awakening of humankind. And also when I was in Shasta about in 2009, 2009. And I was in contact with those underneath Shasta.
Telos.
And one thing that was stated, and I also read in a book by, I forget her name, but she apparently talks to
the Telos
masters and stuff like that. And what is the place under Shasta called?
Telos.
Telos, yeah, Telos. And it wasn't just humans that were ascending. The trees,
everything.
Even the animals, everything. And so, yeah, at these Ascension Centers, there's a reason why there are those trees and water life all around you. And because we're also helping them and they're also helping us ascend.
Just to add to that, right now, it's how many videos do we see of different species befriending their enemies?
Yes, exactly.
In the animal kingdom, cats and dogs and birds and owls and, all sorts of mixing of these different species coming together in a very playful way. So they're already doing what we're heading towards. Yeah. They're ahead of us.
Well, I don't think there's any mistake in the gathering that I'm doing with Heart Talks. I have gathered amazing people who I know if they're watching this, they're going to be in total agreement with it. And it's probably going to inspire them to want to talk about it more because, and anybody who's is being drawn to this particular video, we're going to probably pull it out of deep within them, these ideas of this galactic time that we're already setting the foundation for. There's no doubt about it.
I would really like to suggest that the three of us actually make a intent of collaborating our ideas. I think we all are close enough in our vision of this that it could be a good team of people to work together and see what we can do. And as other things in the world unfold that allow us to actually move forward with some of these ideas and physically create them, I think we'd be a good group to work together on this and keep exploring these ideas on our own between us, and see where it goes, what can become of it, because it does feel like it's time. Sheila challenged me to put my ideas down on paper, but it became a website, and then she wanted something that she could kind of look at and focus around and maybe add to. And I created the website in 2 days. But it was the 35 years of research and collecting the ideas that it didn't take me long to put it all together. But I said it in a way the verbiage is very much about how we're talking about it. It's this ascension, high vibrational kind of approach to creating this place for people and beings to come together. And I think that center, whatever it is just my vision of it. But it could be, I got also, like Brandon was saying earlier, that it's going to be multiple of these. And they're going to be around the world and on different ley line connections and different energetic vortexes that are going to be supportive of them. And I have no idea where this one might end up. I can't find anything in the way of land around this area that fits the idea. And I've been looking for those 35 years. Colorado did have a few places that could have made sense. And Hawaii could be a prime example or a prime location for a center. But there's more than that. There, Machu Picchu and Mount Shasta. There's just a ton of places where they could be, or one could be that we might all work together on and become a part of. But hopefully there will be others, as you say, Sheila, that will be inspired to remember their dreams and their inspirations and their visions and get together with others right now, because again, I think we're really at this time where it's very appropriate for these to come into existence. And maybe it's small to start or maybe large, depending on how much funding becomes available to any and all of us. I've already done some of the financial projection about mine, and it's a $12 million project.
Yeah, they're millions of dollars.
To put together the technology and the structures that would be appropriate for what we're describing.
Well, I got $5. I can throw in the pot.
I got coin.
Well, and I also want to add that it is my intention, always has been and always will be, that I invite my galactic team as we speak in this interview, in all of our thoughts, when we are sitting here dreaming of this, manifesting, laying the foundation, whatever it is we're doing. I know that our galactic team is fully aware of our desires, and I continue to invite them into our gatherings and our meetings.
So Brandon, in your recent time frame, how much has this been popping back up into your consciousness?
Well, right now a lot, because I'm heading out of town. We're going to be moving out of town because we're being priced out of Portland. And with my new change from sports therapist to an author, I'm no longer able to afford the $650 hike that our landlord just did. So we are looking over, and I was told in my dreams to go east. And I was shown in my dreams that I would be going east in steps until I went to Colorado. And our next step is going east of Bend. And so that's kind of where I'm heading. And it's 11:11 right now, so I know that's correct. And so I'm thinking about it a lot. And that is one of the main reasons why I would like to manifest a lot of money, is because of these Ascension Centers. And so I can get land, so I can get a team together, and we can create these things, or this thing. There's going to be a lot of them throughout the world, and yeah, I think we're a team that's going to put one together, and we're going to help a lot of people. And I'm doing my best to manifest this from the heart, to think from the heart, so it can be brought about in a very less stressful, more creative way, and more aligned with the angels, more aligned with the guides, ascended masters, universe. And Saint Germain has been on my mind for maybe 5 years. I think about Saint Germain a lot, and I don't know why. Maybe I'm connected with Saint Germain, and I don't know if Saint Germain is helping us with this. Maybe Saint Germain is. That would be great.
He's one of them.
I absolutely know that that's true, and I have a very close relationship.
Hey, Rich. She'll come back. You absolutely know this is true, Sheila?
Am I frozen?
You locked up, Sheila.
Am I still locked up?
No, you're good.
Oh, yeah. No, I do have a very close relationship with Saint Germain, and he is like one of my #1 guys in my project. So there is no doubt, and I don't know if you guys saw that meme I made where I'm sitting there interviewing Saint Germain, but yeah, I've put my intentions in real strong.
I didn't see that that meme. I got to see that. Is it on your Facebook page?
It's awesome, yeah.
Okay. I'll scroll down and find it.
So one of the things that I just want to reconfirm what you just said, Brandon, is these Ascension Centers are not businesses.
No.
They are a place for people to come and heal and resolve issues, but it's not a business. And I've noticed in putting together that financial projection that I couldn't take it to a banker and ask for a loan because they want a payback on a loan. And it isn't about a payback. It's just about this creation of it. Yeah. So the funding that has to become available for these is not a payback situation. It's going to have to be untethered to that 3D concept. So it isn't, again, about, a client and a practitioner paying for services and offering services. It's about fully awakened and aware people helping their fellow mankind, humanity, and others to resolve the issues and pain and suffering that has been a part of their past experiences. So I think that's one of the things that people don't get yet, that it's not a business. It's never intended to be a business, at least as it evolves. It might start out looking like a business, but I don't get that has ever been the intention. It's going to be a higher consciousness and a higher perspective of this than a healing center that most people know of or think of.
Right. Well, look, guys, I think we should conclude this. I look forward to us having another session like this. And I'm going to post this next to the, let's call it the Ascension Center, and on my website. And then I'm going to finally launch that page on my website, which I haven't done yet. But it's time, and this gathering right here is just, I feel like we've just added to the foundation. I'm so grateful to have your guys' time this morning, and that we can be so open and so real about this.
Sheila, I'd like to at least announce the website that I have created, so that people can go to it as, if nothing else, for their inspiration. And you and I have talked about the idea of doing more videos like this of people who have their healing center idea, and you and I both want to post those so others get to do it. So just as a reference of what my vision has been and the ideas that I have and what some of the things that we could collaborate together on, if people are interested, go to Spirit Harmony Healing Center.weebly, WEEBLY.com. There's a place to connect with us, and there's a place to ask Sheila to do an interview with you if you are interested about your healing center, and then we'll post those as they come in. And I want to thank you both. This has been great.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys.
Yeah. All right, team. Well, I guess I'll see you guys in Colorado.
All right, sweet.
Sounds like a plan. Come on, Shasta.
Okay, guys, we will see you soon.
Okay, bye.
This is the end of our heart chat for today. Thank you for joining us. Please, if you have any ideas about your own healing center, we really would love to hear it. This is something that we all do as one and together and for the goodness of all. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.